Hey everyone, welcome to another exciting, amazing episode of Talking Time with Charlie, where basically I get to sit here and talk about or rant about pretty much anything I want to. And today's topic is going to be one that I think is kind of a neat topic to talk about, and I think it's one that's kind of poo-pooed on by some classical musicians and stuff, but the topic I like to talk about is movie film scores and soundtracks and why I like them. And but before we start, you all know what to do. We got to help out the YouTube algorithm and help push these videos out so that it hits more than three people out of my subscribers. So what you got to do is you got to hit the like button just right below, all right? And you also have to hit the notification bell and subscribe, because if you do that, it helps a lot. Also, comment and share this video with 38 of your closest friends and 24 of your next level of not so close but still pretty close friends. So that'll help a lot. And also, if you're not seeing this on YouTube, go to YouTube. It's youtube.com/Charlie Albright Pianist. Subscribe there and do all that stuff, and you'll feel better because you helped out the algorithm for this video. So thanks a lot. So today I want to talk about film scores, movie music, and why I feel that they are, a lot of them are really good. Not all of them, just like anything else, there's good ones and bad ones, but I think overall, film scores and movie music are some of the best classical, or acoustic would probably be a better way to put it, acoustic music being composed today. And again, there's I can hear the people out there already. Oh my goodness, this is all the trolls on the computers. This is my troll impression. I can't believe he's saying that. How dare he compare movie music to Beethoven and stuff. And I'm not saying that they're the exact same thing, but I'm just saying that among like acoustic music that comes out today, and a lot of times classical music gets kind of clumped in with acoustic music. So I'm kind of doing that for the sake of today's talk. I think that some movie music that comes out is some of the best music being composed today. Let me talk a little bit about that. So people wonder, are there, especially people who aren't in the classical music world, is there music that's being composed today? Is there classical music being written today? And the answer is yes, with a big asterisk. This is my asterisk, little star thing. A big asterisk next to it. Yes, with an asterisk. Let me explain. So in classical music, there is this kind of a movement toward making maybe it'd be better if I even go back further. So classical music can be broken up into different categories. There's like Baroque, which is like Bach. Think things like I can't think of any Bach things right now. I'm playing that fugue in the wrong key, but you get the idea. Bach, very kind of metronomic. Very, very Baroque sounding. It has a very unique sound, very metronomic. There's there's runs and stuff, and it sounds like it should be played on a harpsichord because it was composed for the harpsichord. Now, then there's the classical music section, and that's like your Mozart and your early Beethoven meaning Beethoven in his younger years of life versus Beethoven in his later years of life. Things like Mozart, Haydn, so lots of runs, things like that. So it has a very classical, unique sound as well. Then you kind of go into what you call the Romantic era of classical music, and that's where you have like Chopin, Liszt, late Beethoven, so in his later years of life, and I described it as the schmaltzy stuff, the schmaltzy music, and that's as an example. Schmaltzy, often very lyrical, sometimes very fast fingers, romantic. Then you have impressionistic, which is like Debussy and Ravel, and it's very kind of watercolory. So like Clair de Lune is a very famous example of it's very kind of, not all of it, but a lot of it is very airy, kind of watercolory. You can kind of think of it like impressionistic paintings, right? Kind of watercolor, not very clear lines. And then you have contemporary classical music, which is anything that's technically written but like since the early 1900s, which is a long time, right? Like think about what people were doing in the early 1900s. Their lives were a lot different than the ones that we live now, but that's still contemporary. And those types of music, does that make sense? I don't know. That type of music, that makes more sense. That type of music, contemporary classical music, oftentimes is very rhythmic. It oftentimes has kind of strange notes that don't really match. So you can think of Shostakovich, whatever the notes are. You can think Prokofiev. You can think those types of. So a lot of it's very, very percussive, very melodic. So the notes, doesn't also necessarily fit together perfectly well, but oftentimes it's rhythmic. Then. And that's contemporary classical music. So the music that's written today is technically contemporary classical music, even though the whole period is over 100 years old or whatever. But what a lot of people compose now in the classical music world is a lot of atonal stuff, which is like music that doesn't have a very clear tone, a key that you're in, is one way of describing it. So instead of playing something that sounds nice, it might be, it might have some weird stuff, things like that. And I'm again, there's exceptions to this, but a lot of it has weird notes that don't make sense. Sometimes it involves actually strumming the strings in a piano. I've seen a piece that legitimately they poured a bucket of ping pong balls into a piano. I'm not making this stuff up. And that I'm not a fan of that kind of music. I like contemporary classical that has some rhythm and some melodies and things like that. I've mentioned this in another video, I think, but I think that music needs, for something to be music and not just sound, it needs to have a few things, one or more of the following. Melody, harmony, rhythm. And if it doesn't have any of those, in my book, I don't consider that music. I consider that noise or sound or something like that. You could argue that it's art, but I think art is kind of a broader category, and music is one kind of art. Just like there's visual arts and there's music and there's performing arts, and I mean sometimes music is performing arts, but there's art. So you can go to MoMA and see like a really strange out there. A painting with just a blank white painting or something, right? And that could be considered art. Or you could see maybe it's a performance art where someone's sitting on a chair just thinking, just doing nothing and just thinking, and that's the art. It's like, oh, there's someone sitting on a chair there, and they're the art, and they're part of the art, and stuff like that. That could be considered art. I wouldn't consider that music. And you could have like a type of art that's like things like that. I wouldn't call that music. I'd call that maybe art. I think there's an argument to be made that it could be called art. Maybe not even that. We'll see. It depends on the case by case basis, and if it's that's a whole nother discussion. So it could be art, maybe not, but I wouldn't call that music myself. But a lot of classical music that's composed today is that kind of a thing. Very atonal, maybe no rhythm, maybe no melody, maybe no harmony. It's just that kind of a thing. And I'm not a fan of that. So I don't do too much of it. I do some, but not a lot. Because I just, there's a lot of music I do want to learn and play. So I'll do that over, that kind of music. So a lot of people also clump in anything acoustic, anything that's not like synthesized, not like drum beat kind of a thing, as classical music. And so if you broaden the scope to that, I think that a lot of the best music that's composed today is in some of the big films. I am a huge fan of Hans Zimmer. Hans Zimmer is I'd love to meet him someday. He's an amazing composer, and he's very good at taking a theme, like a very simple theme. Sometimes it's just like a few notes, and making an entire soundtrack that's based on that one theme. So if you listen to the music, you instantly know, oh, that's The Dark Knight from Batman, or that's The Lion King, or that's Inception, or Interstellar, or something like that. And he has an amazing way of building things up slowly, and it's really, really cool. And so I oftentimes listen to soundtrack music. I know some of you know that I'll compose myself in a kind of a soundtrack style. The trailer, excuse me, I'm like getting too excited here. The trailer for my YouTube channel is a piece that I did on my computer. I have some videos, I think, up of me composing, or at least one video up of me composing on my computer using sample libraries and sample instruments. And it's something that I think is really fun, and it's amazing what you can do with just a computer nowadays and a little keyboard. You can make, an entire orchestra if you want. You can do almost anything. It's amazing. And so I think that, some of the music that's composed today that is for film is actually quite remarkable. I mean, you can look at John Williams and making the Star Wars things and Jurassic Park, and I mean these soundtracks are oftentimes really, really, really special. And I know I've uploaded a few videos, Schindler's List, The Godfather. Those are all very, very iconic pieces of music. Look at Cinema Paradiso, the theme from The Mission, both by Morricone. They're awesome, amazing pieces of music that were made for film. Or movies, and who uses films anymore? I guess maybe they do. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know in the comments below. Do they still use film when they're filming videos? Now it's all digital, right? You'd think so. But I think some of that music is really, really special. And now I know that I'm going to get a lot of criticism for this, though. Or maybe I won't get criticism, but I know that a lot of people feel differently. Let's put it that way. Because I know a lot of people, especially hardcore classical people, classical music aficionados and those types, the types that have 15 different recordings of the same piece by different people so they can compare the nuanced differences and stuff. Those people will be like, oh, this is not the same. And a lot of it, I can understand some of the points. Some of the points are probably things like, the soundtrack music isn't as deep. It's not as thought out. It's not as constructed. It's not as intricate. It's more surface level, superficial. And to some degree that may be true. A lot of the movie music thing, it's not something that you would, you necessarily spend, you could write a thesis on or something, examining all the intricacies. Not that I would do that with any classical piece either, but that's another story too. But, maybe it's not as, it doesn't have as much depth, as much intricacy as like a very, very famous classical piece of music that's really, an amazing piece. But again, I'm not really saying that, the soundtrack to The Dark Knight or Pirates of the Caribbean is on par with Beethoven. I'm not saying that at all. All I'm saying is that compared to what, is being composed today in classical music, and again, I'm broadening this out to include like acoustic music, I would argue that, soundtrack music, some of it, not all of it, but some of it is better than a lot of the stuff that comes out today in the traditional classical music, atonal, kind of strange, weird kind of sounding classical music of today. And that's all I'm saying. And I really, really enjoy listening to Hans Zimmer, to a lot of these soundtrack recordings, because a lot of it's really good music. And I mean, like, have you ever driven in the middle of the night, like through a city on the freeway, listening to The Dark Knight? I mean, it's pretty intense. Or Inception. I mean, you think you're Leonardo DiCaprio there going through dreams. I mean, it's pretty intense. But all jokes aside, so I'm saying that I really like a lot of the soundtrack music. And, people can disagree that it's some of the best music coming out for acoustic/classical music today. And, that's fine, to each his own. Everyone can have their own opinions on, on anything. But my opinion is that I think that it is some of the best music coming out today in the fields of acoustic/classical music. And I really, really enjoy listening to it. So if you're interested in some of the stuff I've done, check out some of the links and stuff of some of the things that I do sometimes for fun in terms of composing kind of soundtrack scores and whatnot. I have a ball doing it every once in a while, and maybe you'll have fun listening to some of them. I like having that big epic kind of a sound. inspired by Hans Zimmer, of course. But anyway, yeah, so that's kind of my thoughts on soundtrack music. Not all of it's great. I think some soundtracks you listen to and you're like, oh, well, what was I couldn't hum back a single line after, watching a 2-hour movie. But other soundtracks, like by Hans Zimmer, most of his soundtracks are just amazing. Have you heard Now We Are Free from Gladiator? That song is haunting. It's unbelievably beautiful. And so anyway, I like a lot of the soundtrack music that comes out today, and I think a lot of it is even better than some of the traditional classical contemporary music that comes out today. So check out some soundtrack music if you haven't done it already. Check out Hans Zimmer. Check out some of my stuff. Yeah, why not? And maybe you'll like it too. So I hope you're doing well. So subscribe, hit the notification bell if you want to hear more of my rants and rambles, and let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think of soundtrack music? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Which ones do you like? Which ones don't you like? Let me know below. And I'll see you guys all in another episode. So take care. Bye-bye.